Everything I did in my path as a youth player was everything to become a football player. There were difficult decisions. For me, they seemed easy at the time, but if you look back at the decision that I made, it's not what everybody would do in their life.
The half turn, lays it off, De Bruyne hits the shot, and City are level at the Bernabeu. The crowd are silent.
Kevin is a special player, has special qualities. He's a special player in this era as well, the way he played, the numbers that he produced, the passes, the creativity.
He just sees things that no one else does, and that's his gift in the game.
I think he's been one of the best players the Premier League has seen.
Honored and proud to be here in the best and the biggest club in the world. I'm looking forward to start train and play for Real Madrid.
I think he's one of the most complete midfielders in the world.
How good is he?
Amazing.
Keeps the ball, never gives it away.
Prime Pirlo or Prime Modric?
Prime Modric.
Luka Modric.
Luka Modric. What would you say is your greatest strength on the football pitch?
Maybe this is the better question for others. I don't like to talk about myself.
There are debates in football that never really die. Not because they're loud, but because they're complicated. This is one of them. On one side, a midfielder who seems to bend time itself. He doesn't rush. He doesn't panic. He controls games like he's already seen the ending. On the other, a midfielder who breaks games. One pass, one run, one moment, and the entire defensive structure collapses. Luka Modrić, Kevin De Bruyne. Same position. Different philosophies. And the problem with this debate isn't that one is overrated or underrated. It's that people argue it without first agreeing on what greatness in midfield actually means. Is it control or creation? Is it longevity or peak dominance? Is it about the final pass or everything that happens before it? Because depending on what you value, the answer changes. So before we decide who clears, we need to understand what kind of midfielders these two actually are. Although they're often compared because they share the same position, Luka Modrić and Kevin De Bruyne were never asked to play the same role. Their responsibilities on the pitch are fundamentally different, and that difference is where this entire debate begins. Luka Modrić is a midfielder whose primary duty is control. He operates deeper, closer to the rhythm of the game, where decisions matter more than moments. His job is to keep possession under pressure, connect phases of play, and dictate tempo so his team never feels rushed or exposed. His passing reflects that responsibility. Short, long, sideways, forward, always chosen to maintain balance and structure rather than force an outcome. Modrić doesn't play to end attacks quickly. He plays to ensure his team stays in control of the match from start to finish. Kevin De Bruyne, by contrast, is defined by creation. His responsibility is not to manage the game, but to break it open. He plays higher up the pitch, closer to goal, where risk is unavoidable and ambition is required. De Bruyne's passing is aggressive and forward-thinking, designed to split defensive lines and create immediate danger. Losing possession is part of his role, because his value lies in attempting the passes that others won't. While Modrić focuses on keeping the game stable, De Bruyne focuses on turning possession into chances as quickly as possible. This difference in responsibility explains why they influence matches in completely different ways. Modrić shapes how a game flows, often without drawing attention to himself, while De Bruyne shapes how a game is decided, often in explosive moments. Comparing them without acknowledging these roles leads to false conclusions. They are not rivals performing the same task. They are elite specialists fulfilling very different responsibilities at the highest level. Great players look good when everything is going their way. Elite players reveal themselves when the margins shrink and the pressure rises. This is where big games matter, not because they erase the rest of the season, but because they expose who can still impose themselves when space disappears and mistakes are punished. Luka Modrić has built much of his reputation on nights like these. Champions League knockouts, hostile away grounds, moments when control matters more than speed. In these matches, his passing becomes a tool of survival, as much as dominance. Under intense pressure, he keeps possession moving, finds angles others don't see, and uses disguised passes and outside-of-the-foot deliveries to escape tight spaces. His famous trivela passes are not tricks for highlights. They are solutions when conventional angles are closed, allowing him to progress the ball without breaking the rhythm of the team. In big games, Modrić doesn't chase moments. He reduces risk, calms the tempo, and slowly pulls control back toward his side. Kevin De Bruyne approaches big games differently. His impact is sharper, louder, and often immediate. When defenses sit deep and games become tense, De Bruyne looks for the one action that changes everything. His passing in these moments is aggressive and fearless, driven by timing and execution rather than patience. Outside of the foot crosses, early through balls, switches hit with pace and precision. These are the passes that define his influence when matches are on a knife edge.
He's into the box. Kevin De Bruyne goes to the shot. It's on the back post. There's the third. It's Ilkay Gundogan.
Even in the biggest games, he continues to attempt the most difficult deliveries, because that is where his value lies. He accepts the pressure, the risk, and the possibility of failure, knowing that one successful pass can decide the outcome. The contrast is clear. Modrić imposes himself on big games by controlling them, ensuring his team remains composed when emotions and intensity rise. De Bruyne imposes himself by forcing moments, by creating danger even when opponents are prepared and compact. Both leave their mark, but in different ways. One shapes the flow of the match until the opposition breaks. The other looks to break the opposition outright. And it is in these high-stakes moments that their differing interpretations of greatness become impossible to ignore. At some point, every debate has to face the numbers, not to replace context, but to support it. And when you put the actual figures on the table, the contrast between these two midfielders becomes very clear. Luka Modrić has never been defined by goals and assists, but even then, his output is far from insignificant. Across his career for club and country, Modrić has scored around 90 goals and provided roughly 130 assists, numbers accumulated while playing much of his football in deeper midfield roles, often far from the final pass. These are not inflated figures from advanced positions, but contributions spread across more than a decade at the highest level. Where Modric's record truly stands out is in trophies and achievements. He has won the UEFA Champions League 6 times, multiple domestic league titles, and major cups at club level. Internationally, he led Croatia to a World Cup final in 2018, where he won the Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. Individually, his career reached a historic peak when he won the Ballon d'Or, breaking the Messi-Ronaldo dominance, a rare achievement for a midfielder whose game was built on control rather than scoring. Kevin De Bruyne, on the other hand, is defined by production. His career numbers reflect a midfielder operating much closer to goal and danger. De Bruyne has scored well over 150 goals and registered close to 300 assists across club and international football, placing him among the most productive midfielders the modern game has seen. In the Premier League alone, he ranks among the all-time leaders for assists, including a 20-assist season, matching the league record. These are not just creative numbers, they are decisive ones. His trophy record reflects that output. De Bruyne has been a central figure in multiple Premier League title wins, domestic cup successes, and Manchester City's Champions League triumph as part of a historic treble-winning side. Individually, he has won multiple Player of the Season awards, recognition that consistently points back to his influence on results, not just performances. What these figures show is not superiority in one direction, but difference in measurement. Modric's numbers support a career built on longevity, control, and success at the very highest stages of football. De Bruyne's numbers support a career built on volume, creativity, and relentless attacking output. Both sets of stats are elite. Both are backed by silverware. but they tell two very different stories about what greatness in midfield can look like. Greatness isn't only defined by how high a player can peak, but by how long they can remain there. Football is unforgiving. Systems change, managers rotate, bodies break down, and roles evolve. Longevity and consistency are what separate players who shine briefly from those who define entire eras. And in this part of the debate, time itself becomes the measuring stick. Luka Modrić represents one of the clearest examples of sustained excellence modern football has seen. From his early years to his late 30s, Modrić remained relevant, trusted, and decisive at the very highest level. What makes his longevity remarkable isn't just how long he played, but how he adapted. As his physical attributes naturally declined, his intelligence, positioning, and decision-making became even more pronounced. He adjusted his game without losing influence, shifting roles while maintaining control of matches against the best opposition in Europe. Season after season, regardless of manager or tactical system, Modrić remained a constant presence in high-pressure games, especially in the Champions League, where experience and composure matter most. His consistency is reflected in availability as much as performance. Rarely sidelined for long periods, Modrić maintained elite standards across full seasons rather than short bursts. Even as younger midfielders emerged around him, he continued to start decisive matches, not out of sentiment, but necessity. Coaches trusted him because his level rarely dropped. He didn't rely on moments, he delivered reliability. In football, that kind of consistency becomes invisible precisely because it is expected. And that expectation is earned over time. Kevin De Bruyne presents a different relationship with longevity. His peak when fit is among the most dominant any midfielder has reached. At his best, De Bruyne can control outcomes over a run of games almost single-handedly through creativity and output. However, his career has been more punctuated by physical setbacks. Injuries have interrupted seasons, limited availability during crucial stretches, and occasionally forced him to rebuild momentum. When present, his influence is unmistakable. When absent, it is felt just as clearly. That said, consistency for De Bruyne shows itself in another way. Despite injuries, whenever he returns, he reasserts himself immediately at the top level. There is little adjustment period, little decline in quality. His passing range, vision, and execution remain intact, allowing him to produce elite numbers across multiple seasons. While his availability may fluctuate more than Modric's, his level when on the pitch has remained remarkably high, even as physical demands increase with age. This chapter doesn't declare a winner, it defines a contrast. Modric's greatness is rooted in sustained excellence, adaptability, and durability across an extended career. De Bruyne's greatness is rooted in peak dominance, where his influence during fit periods can overwhelm entire leagues. One represents endurance at the elite level. The other represents recurring brilliance that reshapes seasons whenever it appears. And depending on how you define longevity, years at the top or dominance within those years, the interpretation shifts. Legacy is where debates stop being about preference and start being about perspective. It's no longer just what a player did, but what they represented, how they shaped winning teams, and how the game itself will remember them when the numbers fade into archives. This is where all the previous chapters meet. Luka Modrić will be remembered as a midfielder who redefined what control looks like at the highest level. Not control in the sense of dominance through power or volume, but control through intelligence, composure, and timing. He became the reference point for midfield authority in an era obsessed with output. His legacy isn't built on one system or one manager, but on adaptability across years, roles, and teammates. At Real Madrid, he wasn't just part of great teams. He was part of the structure that allowed those teams to function in the biggest moments. Champions League after Champions League, Modric's presence meant calm when games became chaotic, clarity when pressure distorted decision-making, and continuity when everything else changed. Individually, his Ballon d'Or matters not because it's a trophy, but because of what it represents. A midfielder who wasn't a goal scorer, who wasn't a final pass specialist, breaking through an era dominated by forwards. That achievement alone places him in a rare historical bracket. Add to that his World Cup golden ball with Croatia, a nation without the depth or resources of football superpowers, and his legacy expands beyond club dominance into international leadership. Modrić becomes a symbol of sustained excellence, football intelligence, and longevity at the very top. Kevin De Bruyne leaves a different, equally powerful imprint on the game. His legacy is defined by production, creativity, and relentless attacking influence. He will be remembered as one of the most devastating passers football has ever seen, a midfielder who turned chance creation into an art form. In an era of structured pressing and compact defenses, De Bruyne consistently found ways to break systems apart, with timing, weight of pass, and vision. His trivial crosses, early through balls, and fearless deliveries didn't just create goals, they reshaped how attacking midfield play is judged in the modern game. At Manchester City, De Bruyne became the engine of a dominant era. League titles, record-breaking seasons, and a Champions League triumph all bear his fingerprints. His numbers will age extremely well because they speak the language modern football understands. Assists, chances created, match-winning contributions. When people look back at City's dominance, De Bruyne will be central to that story, not as a controller of games, but as the player who decided them again and again. So why does one edge the other? It comes down to scope and endurance of influence. De Bruyne's peak influence is explosive and overwhelming. At his best, few midfielders in history can match his ability to decide matches so directly and so frequently. But Modric's influence stretches across more seasons, more roles, more phases of football, and more contexts. He didn't just excel within dominance, he sustained it, adapted to it, and carried it forward even as time worked against him. If the question is, who was the more dangerous midfielder in attack? De Bruyne has the edge. If the question is, who produced more direct output? De Bruyne has the edge. But if the question is, who defines midfield greatness when you consider role, responsibility, big game control, longevity, adaptability, and legacy as a whole? That's where Modrić edges it. Not by disrespecting De Bruyne's brilliance, but by the breadth and durability of his influence. Modrić clears not because he was flashier, louder, or more productive, but because he mastered more dimensions of midfield play at the highest level for longer. And in a debate this close, that range of control, sustained over time, is what ultimately separates greatness from dominance.